because we are going to be doing this as a yearly event, we definitely want to create some excitement. Gery Chico combines an accomplished background in city government, education, a distinguished law career, and a solid business background. He's practiced law and represented leading companies in Chicago and the nation over the past 27 years, principally in the areas of real estate and land use, government regulation, and business counseling. Since April of 2004, Mr. Chico has been a senior partner at the Chicago law firm of Chico and Nunez. He has served as Chief of Staff to Chicago Mayor Daley, Deputy Chief of Staff for the Mayor, and President of the Board of Trustees of CPS. In June 2011, Governor Pat Quinn named Mr. Chico as Chairman of the Illinois State Board of Education, and from March 2010 until October 2010, Mr. Chico served as the Chairman of the City Colleges of Chicago. He's also a former member of the, Board of Directors of the Chicago Urban League, DePaul University, and the University of Illinois Alumni Association, and the Eric Institute, etc., etc. Thank you. Please welcome Mr. Gery Chico.
I want to thank Latinos Progresando for the invitation to be here today. It's great to be with a lot of people who I admire and worked with over the years. Sylvia, here, I agree with everything you said. Nobody can ever underestimate the notion of having a seat at the table. And many of the people that throughout this room, certainly at the front table here, represent that concept. Because if you're not in the room, you're not sitting at the table when the decisions are made, I can guarantee you they won't be as good as you would like. And so with people like Sylvia Puente doing the research, doing the hard work, I can guarantee you this conversation will be kept honest, and at least while I'm there, we'll try to push that agenda. Reina Hernandez, are you here? Can you raise your hand? Reina Hernandez is one of the deputy school superintendents of the Illinois State Board of Education, and she does a fantastic job of making sure that the resources are there to improve not only bilingual education, but early childhood education as well. So the fight will go on and it won't stop. And I kind of live in that place between eternal optimism and never being satisfied, which is an interesting place to be because it certainly keeps you taut and you're ready to go, and you never see things as being accomplished and never being where you really want to be. I guess I get that from my grandfather. My grandfather came from Jalisco in the 20s. You know, Marty talked about the history of families, Mexican families in this city. My grandfather came here, like a lot of people, looking for a better life, looking for a better job so he could support his family, give them a chance to do other things in life that he didn't have the chance to do. He was my first role model. I mean, watching my grandfather, I got real lessons in hard work. He never seemed to rest, always seemed to be working. Church, Catholic Church, was a big, big feature in his life and his family. The pictures in my grandfather and grandmother's house, Marty, weren't the Virgin, but it was Jesus and John F. Kennedy, which was a very common theme in their neighborhood. But you know, growing up like that with such strong influences in your life stays with you your entire life, and it helps shape who I became. I've been asked to talk today about the Mexican community and the state of affairs in business. Chuy talked a little while ago about the need, I think you talked about the need, to have better participation in supporting candidacies. And I think, you know, I'm very optimistic. I really see our community coming of age because we've been doing things lately we haven't been doing. If you look at my own D2 statements, you'll see people that wrote $10,000 checks. Mexican business owners, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't know that they were doing that. I mean, people from all kinds of businesses. The story of our community in business is actually very optimistic. We probably have much more powerful numbers there than in some of the areas that we've talked about, whether they be in government, politics, or even in education. Why? There's probably not as many barriers to entry to get started and move along in this sector. Today, there's probably 70,000 Hispanic-owned businesses in the Chicago metropolitan area. And when I say Hispanic, here we're talking, this is MEX talks. So about 80% of these numbers, true to form, are the Mexican community, Mexican-American community. And to me, this is very, very powerful because those 70,000 business owners employ people. and provide paychecks for their employees and their families, and it represents a very large force on the economic landscape. And when you look at those numbers to begin with, and consider that we are the fastest growing, by far a factor of 2, over any other demographic in business ownership, this portends well for us. This is good. This is how people will come to the place one day to be able, Chewy, when you're going for your next office, 10 grand, 20 grand. That's what makes things go. Just ask President Obama. This is the fuel that takes you to higher office, no doubt about it. Whether you like it or not, it's just a fact of life. But Sylvia touched upon this a little while ago. Why is our future so bright? Today, the largest demographic group of school children in Illinois are Hispanics, 23%, well above even the African American community in terms of percentage of students in school today. Their attainment levels are just obvious. You can see whether it's graduation, whether it's going to college, whether it's taking advanced placement courses. This is where your labor force is going to come from. This is where your future business owners are going to come from. This is where your future professionals are going to come from. Very, very optimistic. I'm very bullish about what I see happening. I do believe, as you do, that the resources have to be there to continue to nurture this. Now, one thing that I've seen, going back to the days when we formed the Mexican-American Chamber of Commerce in the mid-'80s, and there were a whole 20 of us in the basement of the hotel on Harrison and Ashland holding meetings. Why? You know, we wanted to make our voice heard. I mean, the city of Chicago Department of Procurement had this new mechanism called MBE, Minority Business Employment Program. And we wanted to make sure that we, our Mexican-American owned businesses, had a piece of that economic pie. And so what started out as 20 people back in the mid-'80s is today 1,500 people in the Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Again, a sense of growth. And within those numbers are some really interesting stories. You have companies like Chewy in your own district, Tropical Optical, which is a very old company. The Arce family owns it. They have 6 retail locations, a lens manufacturing operation in Little Village, and probably employ 100 people. I mean, that is a force that wasn't here a while ago. You have people like Phil Fuentes, McDonald's operator, who I love the story of Phil, was on the curb when the chairman of McDonald's walked by him when he was over at O'Hare Airport and said, hey, maybe you could be a McDonald's owner. And from that, today Phil Fuentes probably has 8 McDonald's and employs a whole lot of people, and Phil is a very philanthropic person who gives back. You have Monterey Security, Juan Gaitan, hundreds of employees providing security at places all over this area. Anybody ever heard of Tovar? It's probably one of the largest Mexican-American owned companies in the country that does snow removal across the country. I can go on and on and on about the progress that's been made by Mexicans and Mexican-Americans in business, and it's substantial. I've been fortunate because, as Marty said, I was going to take his law book, but he put it away. It's one thing to take the law book and become an attorney. I'm very proud of being able to do that, but I took a little bit different route. I wanted to start my own company as a lawyer. And you know, every one of us here has those moments in life where you say, what the heck, right? Because you could calculate and be deliberative so much, but it'll eventually paralyze you. So everybody comes to the point where you have to leap off and try something different. Well, I did 10 years. I worked for big firms. And they're nice places. They're great places. They pay you well, but there's no risk. And you know, maybe it was going back to my grandfather, seeing him take risks when he worked at the stockyards on the south side of Chicago, that told me I ought to say, what the heck, myself, and start my own firm. So today we're about 20 people. Half of them are lawyers. We employ a lot of people, and we get to represent a lot of those companies that I talked about that need legal representation. And most importantly, most of the people in my firm have worked in large law firms and are able to provide legal services to minority and women-owned companies. Many of them are Hispanic-owned. And it gives them an opportunity to do things they ordinarily wouldn't do. I mean, the biggest challenge for Hispanic-owned businesses is access to capital. So let's say you have a great idea, a great company, 3 or 4 people, and now you want to grow, right? You may need to buy equipment. You may need to have real estate. You may need to hire more people. You need money. We are underbanked. We are underbanked in our community. The statistics will show you that we probably have about 1/2 of the number of banks, and that same access to capital has existed in other parts of the city and the greater metropolitan area. Well, we have to work on changing those things. But I've been very, very fortunate to be able to practice law, have a business, and I think here's the thing that probably resonates throughout everybody's remarks. We can't forget where we came from. As those young people are coming through the pipeline, taking their position in law school, medical school, business owners, teachers, doctors, whatever they choose to do, we need to help them. We need to help them. There isn't a week that goes by where I don't talk to 15 to 20 people in my office who are just looking for some perspective. You know, what happened when, and what did you do when this happened? Maybe you can help me meet this one over here. Well, I view that we have an obligation to do that. And I think if we do that, along with the demographics that Sylvia talked about, the civil rights structure, the struggle that Virginia talked about, what Marty opened up with his bag, which I really enjoyed, we are going to be where we want to be one day. It's a struggle. It's never, by the way, in education, the watchword is, you're never satisfied. You will never be done in education, not until the day everybody's at 100%. So this is a constant struggle to improve and be better, but I'm here to tell you that a lot of the basic fundamentals that will make for a very strong community exist in business in the Hispanic community. And as more of our children come through the education pipeline and have greater credentials, we're going to take our place in corporate America. Anybody ever heard of Jose Luis Prado? Yeah, a couple people nodding their hands. He is the president of Quaker Oats North America, a Mexican. Okay? I mean, these things, this is great stuff. I love talking about these stories because so many people don't realize this. It can be done. It is being done. It needs to be done in greater numbers. And we will get there. But I am very, very optimistic about where we are. I see our purchasing. Do you know right now that we have a purchasing power of about $12 billion in this metropolitan area? $12 billion. And that's why so many of the large manufacturers and sellers of goods and services now market to us, both in Spanish and English and both. This is a market that people want to participate in. And so it's really up to us at the end of the day, as it usually is. Chu, I think you started out, were you talking about Frederick Douglass? Nobody gives you anything. If you're waiting for somebody to hand you something, good luck. You'll be sitting here for a while. Or at least you'll be in the same place. So you have to go out and take things. And you have to say to yourself, what the heck? Take a chance. Take a chance, and that's how you improve, and that's how you get to where you want to go. But the future is very, very bright, because that's just the world I'm living in right now, seeing that. I mean, things are going very well. We can't take it for granted. We've got to keep working hard. But things are very, very bright. We have a very bright future. Things are looking up. Thank you very much.
Gery, as you were talking, I was reminded of the movie, I don't know why, A Day Without a Mexican. And I think all of us in this room sort of recognize just the value of the Mexican business community, particularly how much contributes to our communities, to society. Do you think that the business community at large is aware of the contributions that we're making?
Yes. I mean, I see it every day. I went to there's a bakery on the north side of Chicago, a commercial bakery, that does baking for companies around the world. And they run 3 shifts, and they have 250 employees, and almost 100% of the workforce is Mexican. Now, that happens to be a labor perspective, but that owner of that company, who is not Mexican, felt that the work ethic, right, the work ethic and what is brought to the job is so important that he's done that in every plant he has around the world, except maybe in Europe or some other places, but certainly in the United States. So whether you look at it from that perspective, or you look at it from the perspective of business owners who are partnering with other companies right now in joint ventures, taking advantage of opportunities with large corporations, yes, I think there is a recognition of the power of this community. Certainly there isn't a person you can't talk to on the street who doesn't realize the tremendous work ethic of the Mexican community. And people respect that, and they want to work with it. So I see it every day like that. So I think, yes, there is a recognition of the power that we have. Thank you. Thank you.